Hey guys, you were going to a video and we're going to be discussing what we were supposed to be discussing in my last video, and I don't really want to do too many more videos about this, to be honest. Um, oh man, I need to do a thumbnail for this video. I'm so lazy. But here's some of the analytics on my videos, and I just want to kind of talk about it. So, like, if you notice, this one has like 12,000 views and has 330 comments, right? 2,080, 2,080, 1,030. So that's only 2,500 and has 200 comments. That's a lot to go through. So we're going to be going through it in this video. I'm going to be kind of talking about the kinds of things that people are talking about, um, and um, yeah, but let's go ahead and get to the comments. We're going to do them in order. There's another way to look at them, but I didn't even put my little video at the front of it. But what I want to talk about is some of the crazy stuff that people are thinking. I'd rather be Canelo. Golovkin got his ass kicked the whole fight. LOL. Um, so this is supposed to be scoring round 12, right? And you know, a lot of times, like, a common defense mechanism is like misdirection. If you're if you don't have empirical data, right, you'll change the subject of what you're arguing, um, so that you can seem more right. And it's very common for people who, you know, well, you understand. But he's not talking about the 12th round, right? He wants to say, oh, the whole fight, right? Canelo won, plain and simple. Sure, whatever. This round decided whether this was a draw or not to the judges. So yeah, this was a draw. That's factual. Now, what this guy's saying in his comment is that the reason why we're going over this round was specifically, um, and not going over the whole fight, is just because empirically this one had more, carried more weight, um, because we can qualify or quantify the value of this round based on the judges' scorecards going into it. Um, there are no other, how do you say it, variables, right? Um, the only part that's wrong about that is the fact that every round is so important, right? We could go over every round that Golovkin won and be like, did he win this round? Every round that Canelo won, did he win this round? And they're going to have an empirical effect on the on the outcome of the fight. And what people didn't understand is that, like this guy right here, I'd rather be the guy whose face didn't look like hamburger meat at the end of the fight. What he didn't understand is that we're scoring the 12th round. We're not scoring the fight based on that, right? That's not a metric, right? Where in the scorecards does it talk about hamburger meat, or where when it talks about how to score a fight, does it talk about hamburger meat or how your face looks? Why does Canelo get credit for work that he did in the 10th round or the third round when that bruise started showing up in the 12th round, right? Because we're scoring the 12th round, right? We're not going over. We're not saying, oh, he won the fight because of this. But one thing that nobody's talking about. Let's see if they talk about it in here. People bruise differently. Here are all Triple G's landed punches and Canelo's landed punches. Interesting videos, probably. That has nothing to do with who won the fight, though. Tony BP, that's what's up. The GGG cut is from the headbutt. Yeah, that could be. I'm not sure. Good job with those videos. Weird song choice. I mean, squat. The judges. Oh, the bruising situation. I bruise really easily. Canelo handed his chin on a silver platter for Triple G. And again, like, that's not what we're talking about either. But one thing I want to talk about is Canelo, right? Nobody's talking about these cuts on Canelo's face, right? Would you guys really rather be Canelo? Like, Triple G was bruised there, but look at the giant gash, and these are from punches. These are not from headbutts at all, right? Would you rather be Canelo or Triple G? Hamburger meat. Talk about hamburger meat. But that's neither here nor there, right? You want to make sure that you're not scoring the round based on anything other than what happens in the round, right? And every single round is a different tactical battle, and that's one of the problems with um, with boxing in the first place is that people don't understand that. You can't carry the notions of what happened in the last round into this round and score it. Um, I don't think one dominated the other in this round. The jab usually pops the head back. I believe both men ate each other's shots. Yes, Canelo's head pops back on some. That usually happens on jabs. Now, I understand what he's saying, but now you have to say, okay, if you're going to create a standard like that, it has to be a standard for everybody. Did Golovkin's head pop back on Canelo's jab? No. So the metric there is different. You have to say that, oh, one jab is different than the other. What could it be? And we understand that Golovkin is a power puncher. He hits harder than Canelo does. So the difference has to be in the power. So you can't equate their jabs as being equal. You have to say that Triple G's jab is stronger. And we'll get to other things too. Don't worry. This is going to be a long fucking video, as you guys probably already realize. But um, but creating metrics and creating standards like that, they're not effective for basing who won a fight. You have to score every round based on clean, effective punching. Um, and we'll get to some other things too. Don't worry, you guys. There's some other really good comments in here. Um, I'd rather beat Canelo. It seems that Canelo did more, even though Triple G had some good jabs. Pops Canelo head back. I give this round to Canelo 100%. Now, the fascinating thing about this guy's not talking about the fight, because we're not talking about the fight. We're only talking about the 12th round, right? And like this guy hit the nail on the head, right? This round decided, right? That's why we're talking about it. Um, but this guy seems to think that Canelo landed the better shots in this round. I personally don't agree, right? Um, but at least he's on point. He's talking about what we're talking about, and he's not saying crazy ass shit. You know, this part right here, this is, the Abel Sanchez part. That's not relevant. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, and we'll get to it at other comments too that talk about the benefits of having replay and whatever. That gave 12. So even his own trainer, facts. Yeah. Um, Even his own trainer said that, but that doesn't mean that that's true, right? Um, Now, if we're going to talk about what that actually means, um, what does this actually mean in terms of boxing? Well, we know that Golovkin's not going to win any close rounds against Canelo. That's what we know. Abel Sanchez knows. Abel Sanchez is not saying that Golovkin didn't actually win the round, right? If we're talking about what really happened. Abel Sanchez is saying, you didn't do enough to beat Canelo in that round. You'd beat any other fighter in the world in that round, but you didn't do enough to beat Canelo in that round, because Canelo's going to get all the close rounds, as we saw, right? Let's look at some of the comments to this. It is mad corny. Sanchez is angling for a third fight. That's exactly what Sanchez is saying, right? He understands that if he slanders Canelo, right, and they talk anymore about PEDs or whatever, that Oscar De La Hoya is going to act like a little girl, and he's not going to give them the third fight that they deserve. In fact, motherfucker. But they understand the situation, right? Abel Sanchez he's no idiot. But it's more complicated than just saying, oh, he lost the 12th round. Did he give the 12th round away? Like, did it look like it if you watched the clips? No, he landed, in my opinion, the harder, more effective punches. Now, you have the shade of that, and we'll talk about that a little later. Someone mentions it, but we'll get to that later. You're right, man, 100%. Canelo's head was bouncing all around. When I watched the match, I was certain Golovkin had won. I was going to be baffled by the official scorecards, but I was amazed by the 10th round. It was a turning point in favor of Triple G. I agree with this, too. The 10th round. I thought it started in the 9th round. Me, personally, I had the fight even after 8 rounds. I don't remember what my scorecard was, just because I remember cutting the data. Just saying 8 rounds, even, and then I just started using my memory for other things. But I don't know anything about boxing, but if you'd like, I'm interested in sharing. Oh yeah, maybe I could do round 10 too. I don't know. Let's see if there's round 10 didn't turn the fight. It was round 8 that he wasn't going to run no more. Yeah, I think it might have been in round 8. Need to watch watch again because Triple G hit him hard and rocked him. I'll watch it again. Thumbs up. Cool. Um, but there was definitely like a shift in it um, in the second half of the fight, in which I thought that Golovkin kind of started running away from it. And I said in my post-fight video that he dominated. You know, he won the rounds. He dominated on the scorecards, in my opinion, in the second half, even though the rounds were still clear, not clear, close. Let's see. I think you should just stop saying that Canelo's punches didn't affect Triple G. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, because nothing affects Triple G that much. His chin is made of iron. He just keeps coming forward. Triple G missed a lot of shots. Well, now, this is not how you score a fight, right? This is not how you score a fight. You don't say he missed a lot of punches, so he lost the round. Because Triple G throws a lot of punches that aren't punches. You know, he throws a lot of probes, right? And this is something that's lost on casual boxing fans, is it's a way to open your opponents up and get them to make mistakes. As we saw in the first fight, in round 5, he's got Canelo against the ropes. He jabs, and then throws a slow jab. Canelo throws that left hook, and he slips it, cracks him with a huge right hand. That was 3 jabs that weren't really punches, just to get Canelo to open up so he could land the 4th, giving him a 25% accuracy rate in terms of accuracy of his punches, but setting up beautifully a great power shot. So if you're gonna use combat, like, or not combat, CompuBox stats like this, you know, Triple G missing however many punches, you also have to use the CompuBox stats of the fact that Triple G landed 15% more punches, right? At 234 punches versus Canelo's 204 or 200 something. Um, um, that's, 30 more punches. 30 divided by 200 is 15%. 15% more punches. So you have to take that into a consideration. Let's look at some of the replies. This channel rides on Triple G bandwagon, like HBO does. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but fuck you, EK Coop, you're a cunt. However, said that our jerk-offs post-fight picks who would you rather be? See, and this guy, right? Post-fight picks. Who would you rather be? That's not about it, right? It's not who would you rather be then. And maybe that was something I didn't talk about correctly. In the 12th round, who would you rather be? Who did you think landed the better punches in the 12th round, right? That's the idea behind it, right? And people want to extrapolate that and say, oh, this is the way that you do that. Kind of like, who would you rather be at the end of the fight? Look at his face is all busted up. Golovkin had 1 bruise on his face, just 1. Usually when we talk about that, right, if we're being consistent, the person that we're talking about is someone who really got busted up, whose face looks like they look mangled. They don't have just 1 bruise that's bleeding, right? And on top of that, in spite of the fact that Golovkin gave Canelo that huge cut on his head, right? Would you really rather be Golovkin, or really rather be Canelo, the guy with a cut above his left eye? If there were no rounds and there were no in-between rounds, that cut would be bleeding in his eye, and he would lose the fight because he'd get knocked out, because he wouldn't be able to see eventually, right? That's neither here nor there. But anyway, moving on. When I disagree with you, I think it's the issue with boxing, casual boxing fans. Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. My fans, yeah. And I always appreciate your comments. I think that you're always really level-headed, and the things that you say make a lot of sense. Scoring at the end, yeah. It sucks that so much of boxing is subjective, or people seem to think that it's subjective. HBO does not do a good job of enforcing the rules. They're very, oh, you get to think what you want to think, and that's not true. That's just not true. That's not how you get to say you score a fight. Oh, you like this guy's work better than the other guy's work. It's not, but it's become the colloquialism. It's kind of like the reason why so many stupid ass words become words. Like, let's see, what's a really good one? I don't know, man. You guys just look that shit up. But how words make it into the Webster's dictionary every year that aren't words. They're colloquialisms of like rap words. You know, I can't even think of any. I'm so brain dead right now. But they just become um, they become words because people use them, not because they're actually words. Like conversate, right? The word is converse, but people say conversate, and now boom, it's in the dictionary, even though it's redundant and there's a shorter word for it. Conversate gets put into the dictionary. Or like there's a funny interview. Um, Never mind. Anyway, getting back on topic. I think the way we lose casual fans at the end of the day, even ex-fighters and current fighters can't agree on who won this fight convincingly, which may also be okay. That's a good point. That being said, I also don't think showing punches landed doesn't do the fight justice because CompuBox is not the decider of who wins. That's true as a fan, how subjective it is sometimes, but it'd be great just to have a clear winner and no need to debate. I know, I agree. To be honest, I didn't care who won. Like I said um, oh god, my prediction video, I just wanted it to be a knockout, whether it was Canelo or Golovkin, so we could avoid this. But um, showing punches landed doesn't do the fight justice. So the thing is it's not just about showing the punches that are landed. Um, it's because you do have to remember that all of the if you can decide the round by who landed the more clean and effective punches, nothing else matters, right? When you're scoring a fight, like um, you don't get points for being clever and crafty and setting traps. If you set a trap and your opponent is able to barely slip out of the way of the shot, and it took you 5 rounds to set it up, um, you don't win the fight. You know, you don't get points for that, right? And that's why having like knockout power is so important and can be such a great tool, like Ortiz versus Wilder. The fact that Ortiz or Wilder was losing the fight, Ortiz was beating him, he was setting better traps, and Wilder set one trap, boom, wins the fight off of that trap. Um, it has to be effective still, no matter what you're doing, right? Ortiz, we're not going to go back and look at Ortiz and be like no one's clamoring for a rematch for that fight, right? Oh, he lost by knockout, even though he was winning the fight, he was dominating it. Now, in that same vein, um, when you're judging a fight, right? So determining how good a fighter is different than saying who won the fight. Um, and in order to determine how good a fighter is, how smart a fighter is, and all that fun stuff about boxing, you need to watch the tactics. You need to watch the adjustments they make. You need to, but in scoring a fight is not as subjective as people think it is. It's not as it's not even as difficult. You know, you just have to understand that the fighter that lands the cleaner, effective punches is the one that wins the round, right? And unfortunately, there's ambiguity to that, right? I think it's less subjective than it is ambiguous. Um, but moving on. Anyway, yeah, and this is not like empirical data either, you know. Um, um, with all the bad blood between the camps, if Golovkin ever wants a rematch, they better kiss Canelo's, red-haired ass, or they're not going to get it. And I think that's a really unfortunate for Triple G, um, because he can't go out and say, "Oh, I didn't lose this fight," or blah 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 blah, whatever. Anyway, though, great comment though. Uh, Golovkin landed 28, Canelo landed 32. What people forget to judge is based on what they see for those live 3 minutes. Yeah, just those 3 minutes. You don't bring in anything from the outside. You can't bring in round 11 into round 12. But the opportunity for a replay in slow motion, just like you, the first time I watched it, I saw that Canelo took round 12. Yeah, I agree. I thought he did too. Um, that's the same thought the judges had. That's how the round is scored. It won Canelo the fight. He won. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on the scorecards are submitted. Questionable, blah, blah, blah. That's a sport. Your channel, I respect your feelings on this. You almost make me want to do a video just to respond to you. I can understand the feelings, Triple G. Now, this is interesting too because this is making the assumption that if you're going strictly by CompuBox, right, that and you're creating clear lines between landing more punches equals winning the fight being more important than um, um, or you're creating clear lines for judging that parallel the effectiveness of each fighter's punch, right? So you're saying that Triple G landing 28, that's not as many as Canelo, so Canelo wins the round. But if you look at the punches and you see, like you agree, like I do, that Canelo's punches weren't as hard as Golovkin's, then you have to give those punches more clout, right? The power shots that Golovkin landed were way cleaner, right? And that's not debatable. We cannot debate in any way, shape, or form that when Golovkin was snapping Canelo's head back, that his punches were landing flush, right? And that's one of the problems with Canelo's shots is they weren't all flush. Golovkin actually was riding those shots or blocking them, or Canelo was landing with the inside of the glove more than he was the knuckles. Um, but his punches weren't as clean or effective. Um, and then because because of that, you have to give Triple G more points per punch than Canelo. Not only that, but his punches are harder, right? Not all punches are born equal, right? And again, that creates ambiguity. That creates an ability for you to say one fighter is better than the other because of X, Y, or Z, or vice versa, right? Now, this creates ambiguity, right? What this creates the opportunity for bias. Not your comment. It's a great comment, TKO, talking about the slow mo, right? And we can address that after too. Um, but but the fact that some say, oh, he landed more punches, because a lot of times that's the metric, right? That's an easy one to say. We're talking about um, Golovkin landed more punches throughout the fight than Canelo, and that's the metric that a lot of fans are using to say that Golovkin won. But you're using it in the opposite context that Canelo won the round because of the fact that he landed more punches. But if you use this metric to judge the 12th round, then you can use that metric to judge the fight as a whole and say that Triple G won the fight, right? Now, if you disagree with that, then you're being a hypocrite, and that's one of the problems with boxing, is you can't use this metric sometimes and then not use it other times, right? Like Paulie Malignaggi says in his video, if you use the same criteria to score every round, there's no way that Triple G loses the fight, and that's the problem. And I guess I'll talk about this a little bit too. One of the reasons that Triple G he can't get a fair shake um, is because there's so many more expectations on Triple G than there are on Canelo. People, they expect him to, like the Mexican style thing. You don't get points for Mexican style. That's not a scoring criteria, but people use that as a metric to score the fight, and that's absolutely crazy. They say, oh, Triple G ran. Triple G was the one backing up. He was backing up because Canelo was putting the pressure on him. He was backing up but he was still outlanding Canelo. And that's how you score a fight. But because there's so much more pressure on him um, for Canelo or for Golovkin to perform, he doesn't get credit for winning the fight. It's kind of like that stupid adage, the stupid shit that Max Kellerman says. But this doesn't look like a Triple G fight, so he's losing the fight. When he says stuff like that. I think he said that a lot during the first fight. And again, that misinforms boxing fans. And people look up to Max Kellerman because he's so confident with everything that he says. It seems like he knows what he's talking about. But that is just one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever heard. You don't score a fight based on that. Anyway, Canelo boxes the first fight. They say he ran and lost. Canelo chases down Triple G. They say he lost. It's a lot of bias for Triple G from a lot of these fans. Not talking about the video maker, because at least he breaks his opinion down. I appreciate this. I do talk about why I think certain things or why I think things. But this is interesting because Golovkin falls under the same scrutiny, right? Canelo gets credit for going backwards in the first fight, even though he gets outlanded in the first fight. Uh, and Triple G is constantly getting him on the ropes multiple times per round. Um, but Canelo somehow wins that fight, even though it was a draw, right? It was a draw, but people say Canelo won the first fight. Um, and then Triple G does the exact same thing that Canelo did in the first fight, except that he lands more punches, he lands more effective punches, he lands the harder, the cleaner shots, and you can't debate the cleaner shots, right? Um, but he doesn't get credit for going backwards, even though he went backwards better than Canelo did in the first fight, right? So there's definitely double standards there, and it's interesting that he's saying the double standards are against Triple G or against Canelo, when I clearly see them against Triple G. So maybe that just means that there's bias on both sides, and it needs to be looked at more clearly, more closely. Um, but anyway, can someone point to a body shot that stopped Triple G from throwing another punch or affected him more than the uppercut Canelo took? This is an interesting point. Now, it's not on point with what we're talking about in the video, right? But when people say, oh, the like 20 or 30 body shots that Canelo landed in the fight, I think it was like 20 or 30, um, were destroying Golovkin. Where do you see evidence of that? People stress body shots. They stress um, that they're effective. They stress that's what's going on. But there's no data for that. You can't say that it was effective. If Triple G's not wincing and falling over and clearly showing that he's hurt, then you can't say that they were effective. You can't score around for someone that had their spur moments in the round while the other boxer controlled most of the round, and that was the story. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I think he's talking about Canelo controlling the fight. This is interesting too, because this is not what we're talking about. Um, because if you if you have your spur of the moment moments and you land more or you land more effective punches or more clean punches um, than the person who is quote unquote controlling the fight, then yes, you win the round because it's clean, effective punches. That's what wins a fight. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Um, and the interesting part is Canelo was following Triple G around the whole night. Nobody talks about that, right? They're just impressed the fact that he was coming forward. So he gets credit for coming forward when it was not effective aggression. He never got he never got Golovkin to the ropes. He never hurt Golovkin, um, and he never cut the ring off. That's something that people said that Triple G. That's why he lost the first fight. Oh, he never cut the ring off. Blah blah blah. Canelo didn't cut the ring off. Why doesn't he lose points for not cutting the ring off, like Golovkin loses points in the first fight? Again, that gets back to this comment right here about the dichotomy between the ways that you judge fights and judge fighters. This right here shows that combined with this, that shows a clear bias in the minds of what's going on in the minds of each fan, and their expectations of a fighter, and how their expectations of what a fighter is and does affects the way that you score their fight. Because of, again, stupid shit that people like Max Kellerman say when they're saying, this is not a Triple G round. If you land like 20 power shots in the round, that's your fucking round. And it just doesn't make any sense. But people have these preconceived notions about what a fighter is supposed to be doing in each fight, that if they deviate from it, it's because, and again, Max Kellerman, right, with his colloquialisms, right, talking about really, really low-level boxing. I'm not going to mention any names, but if you're watching low-level boxing, yeah, maybe that holds true. Maybe that's a decent metric. But this is high-level stuff. These guys are not amateurs. Anyway, moving on. This is interesting too, talking about rolling with the punches as a way to discredit the power from Golovkin. People say, oh, he was rolling with the shots, when his head was getting snapped back. But you can't say that he was rolling with every punch. You can't say that um, that the ones that he was landing were all rolled with. I don't agree with it. You know, it looked like they were just knocking his head back. You know, you don't just do that on your own. But if you say that and then you use that as a way to discredit the effectiveness of the shots, then you're doing a disservice to both fighters. Not only are you saying that one fighter wasn't landing his punches, but then you're also taking away the fact that he can absorb those shots, right? And that he didn't have as good of a chin. Now, again, neither of those are metrics for um, um, neither of those are metrics for scoring, right? And that's all we're talking about here: scoring. Hamburger meat. You don't score hamburger meat. Um, this is very appropriate, right? This is, empirical data. You can see him staggering after he gets hit. Pretty hard to roll with an uppercut. Yeah, you really can't. There's nowhere for your head to go. Roll with his fucking head. Yeah. Um, I would rather be Golovkin. I watched the fight as neutral, blah, 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 a lot of your videos. First fight gave me a better understanding of boxing. I'm glad, bro. I thought Golovkin would get his hand raised. People kept saying, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, look at Golovkin's face. He was older and more prone to bruise and cut. Look at Canelo's face. He had a nice cut, and you can see clearly his forehead eyebrow is very puffy. To be honest, Canelo's whole face was puffy. His whole face was puffy. Canelo was landing his left hook to the cheek all night long, right? But that was like his main source of offense, was right there, whereas Golovkin was landing punches all over Canelo's head, and his jaw was puffy. His post-fight, if you look at him in interviews after, his eyebrow was super swollen and bruised and whatever. Anyway, otherwise, honestly, if I honestly thought Canelo would win, I'd be happy to admit it, but I don't think he did. People keep saying boxing is subjective. Are you stupid? Okay, Canelo looked flashier, so I say he won. Something very wrong there. Yeah. Golovkin's face. Canelo won. Yeah, these are not metrics, right? Look at his face. That's not a metric for scoring a high-level fight. People who are saying, who cares who won, enjoy the fight, what it was. Yeah, that sucks too, because it takes away from our ability to watch the next fight with Golovkin. Who's going to want to fight Golovkin now that he doesn't have any belts? That's really interesting. I mean, now that Golovkin went 12 rounds with Canelo twice, maybe they'll be thinking, oh, he ain't got that power, what's up? Maybe. But I don't think anyone's going to want to jump into the ring with him. Man, 12 replies. I don't have time to go through your 12 replies. I'm so sorry everyone who responded to that. But in no mind and no question, fight somebody. All the belts are taken from me. Yeah. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that, Aaron. But he makes some good points. You don't get points for looking flashier. You get points for clean, effective punching. Power/body shots. He was the ring general. Now this is not true. He was not the ring general. The fight was fought wherever Golovkin wanted it to be fought. He was the one dictating where they fought. He was never against the ropes, and he was never. And Canelo was never cutting the ring off. So why is Canelo the ring general in the first fight, but Golovkin not the ring general in the second fight? Again, Golovkin outlanded Canelo in both fights, going forward and going backward, but he doesn't get credit for it. Canelo gets credit for being the ring general in both fights. That just doesn't make any sense. That's not consistent. And being the aggressor. Now, the thing is you don't get points for being the aggressor when you get outlanded. You don't get points for being the aggressor when your opponent lands better or more effective shots than you. That's not how it works. You don't use secondary scoring criteria when and again, getting back to the other guy's point, when you have slow-mo and you can go back and rewatch it, you score secondary stuff maybe differently because you can't clearly see. But if you look at it at the huge punches that Golovkin was landing, oh god, brain fart. You realize that you don't have to have secondary scoring. And that's one of the things that's kind of lost on people is that they want to add in secondary scoring. So like if I land 10 punches and you land 15, but I'm the aggressor and I'm the ring general and I'm doing this flashy stuff, I don't get 5 points or 5 punches worth of points because of that stuff. That's not how it works. If your opponent is out, if you're the ring general and you're the aggressor and you're, what's the other one? The whatever, you have better defense and your opponent is so much more limited than you in all of those aspects and he's still outlanding you, you're not the better fighter. You're not. Looking at Triple G's face, I'd rather be Canelo. Abel Sanchez say case closed. What's the debate? This is a really ignorant comment. Number one, we're talking about the 12th round, right? This guy probably didn't even watch the video. So he doesn't know what the debate is. What Sanchez said instead of looking at what the boxers are doing when the punches landed. Boxing fans, that's a good point. That's a good point. Why would you... This is not a scoring criteria. And again, remember the cut on Canelo's face. Why doesn't Triple G get points that follow him around all fight long because of the cut, but Canelo gets points for the bruise on Triple G's face? Golovkin won that round clearly. I have been considering not watching boxing. That sucks. I was disappointed with the scoring. It epitomizes. Thanks for taking the time. I can't click on that right now because I don't know where it'll go. Can you tell me how Triple G won and why? Well, clean and effective punches. That's what he's saying. And I agree with him. But he's talking about the round, and that's what we should be talking about, how to score the 12th round. So far, the most compelling argument was that we shouldn't get to use slow-mo to go back and rewatch the round. Because it's going to influence us, not influence us, but it's an advantage to do it, and it is more accurate. But the fact that we don't have that accuracy, I think what he was implying, that guy who said that, and that was a great comment, by the way, he's implying that there's going to be room for error when we don't have that available to us during the course of scoring an actual round, and then because of that, it creates ambiguity that should be forgivable, or margin of error in boxing that should be forgivable. And unfortunately, I do kind of agree with that. I do think that it should be more clear, but as I demonstrated, it is very difficult to judge because I gave the 12th round to Canelo, in spite of the fact that it looks like Triple G won it when you go back and rewatch it like this. I think that part was lost on a lot of people. You can tell. Look at this. You can tell who didn't hear me say that. Right? You can tell who didn't watch the video or didn't listen. But anyway, they all agree this should have been more a draw than the first fight. And they all agree Canelo got the win because Triple G's on his way out. They also placed Canelo way behind other Mexican legends like Chavez and Marquez. It's interesting. That's really interesting, BP. Just talking about these things, the Chavez and Marquez thing. Boxing is in a place. So before the first Canelo Golovkin fight, I thought Canelo had all the opportunity to be the better fighter. He's very talented, physically gifted. I don't want to say that. He trains hard. He works hard on his skills. As best as he knows, with his limited trainers, and yada yada yada. And this is an important part too. I guess I'll talk about this a little bit right now. Roy Jones Jr. saying that Canelo should avoid Charlo, that is about the most ridiculous and stupid thing I've ever heard. And people are going to see just how good Triple G is once this new and improved version of Canelo starts fighting in the middleweight division. Number one, he's going to fucking smash him. He's going to smash Charlo. It's going to be probably one of the most crazy one-sided beatdowns you've ever seen. And it's going to be like, I don't want to say like Floyd Mayweather and Arturo Gatti, but it's not going to be a close fight. Canelo is so much better of a fighter than Charlo. Um, Insanely better. And all the stuff about like Errol Spence, right? Errol Spence has no chance to beat Canelo Alvarez. None. No chance. And um, you'll see that the difference in quality in fighters when they wind up fighting, you see him fighting like an A-level fighter in Golovkin, and how close the fight is. I still don't think that he beat Golovkin, but then you start seeing him fight fighters like Errol Spence and Jamal Charlo, and you'll see kind of how limited their styles are and how much I think those fights will really do a lot to boost Golovkin when you see them. And Errol Spence thinking that he can move up and fight Canelo is just insane to me. Um, Kell Brook was a decent counterpuncher. He's a good fighter, but he's a decent counterpuncher. Kell Brook is kind of like, without the power, but he's kind of like a poor man's Triple G in that regard. He doesn't have the power that Triple G has, but he's a decent fighter. Um, where am I going with that? But the countering ability of Kell Brook is nowhere near the level of Canelo. And Canelo is a much better counterpuncher. He's much faster, and he hits much harder than Kell Brook. And Kell Brook gave Errol Spence a lot of problems in the beginning of the fight. He landed a lot of shots. And we're really going to get to see how good, not how good Canelo is. We saw how good Canelo is in this fight. And he's good. He's very talented. But getting back to this, right? Boxing is in a different place than it was then. If you compare them side by side, Canelo is a better fighter than Chavez. He's a much better fighter than Marquez. Comparing them side by side. But generationally, you have to remember that they fought in different eras. People know more about combat sports now. YouTube is much older, right? When Chavez fought, there wasn't a YouTube, right? You couldn't just get everyone's fight. You had to beg the network for it. You probably didn't have the video players or computers, right, to play them on so that you could go back and do great film study. And the same with Marquez. And so it used to be so much more difficult to get good at an exponential rate because it was so much harder to study boxing. But like, as per like just being a better fighter, Canelo's skill-wise, he's a much better fighter than either of those guys. People are gonna hate that. I know. And like, I didn't have a chance to give Canelo his like proper due respect about his skills because it was a phenomenal fight from Canelo, in spite of the fact that I don't think he won, but it was a phenomenal effort from him. And to be honest, I don't think that Triple G will actually win the third fight. I think that Canelo might get him legitimately in the third fight. Yeah. But anyway, a really interesting comment. And I think that, even from the Triple G fans, Canelo's going to get a lot of credit for beating fighters. If he fights Errol Spence, he's going to smash Errol Spence. He's going to knock Errol Spence out, 100%. I wouldn't bet 100% on the knockout, but I would bet 100%. I'd bet every goddamn penny I'd ever make in my life that Errol Spence would beat Canelo. Canelo would beat Errol Spence. Every penny that I'll make for the rest of my life. And the same with Charlo. Charlo is so green. Charlo is like having one fight under your belt with Triple G. And I'm gonna do a comparison video on Canelo in his first fight and his second fight. The Fight Scout. If you're still watching my videos, I'm gonna show you that you learn about those timings and you set traps and you learn how to fight off them. I'm gonna show you, boy. I'm gonna show you. But anyway, Canelo's a very good fighter, you guys. Anyway, moving on. Next comment. I got a lot to go. I was completely neutral on this fight. I just want to see a good scrap. I gave last 4 rounds, but I still had Canelo winning the fight. Interesting. I think Triple G just let it slip away early on. this is really interesting. I gave Golovkin the last round. In fact, I gave him the last 4 rounds, and that's where I thought he pulled apart. And this is why every round is so important, and not just the first round or the second round or the last round, right, on the scorecards. Because it's interesting to look at the scorecards, be like, oh, the 12th round was the deciding factor, and then that's what everyone focuses on, right? But it's actually every round is so important that you should be focusing on every round, you know. But again, not not staying on topic. We're talking about scoring the 12th round and how to score a fight. I guess I haven't been on topic either. So you get a pass, bro. You get a pass, Bill Collins. Yeah, it didn't disappoint. I told my new coach that I thought it was one of the top 10 fights I've ever seen. Um, and I couldn't even think of 10 fights that I'd rather watch than it. It was a great fight, and not only was it a great fight, but it wasn't just a great fight. Like Porter Danny Garcia was a fun fight to watch. That was a really good fight, but that was nowhere near the level of skill that this fight was. Anyway, thank goodness this guy isn't a judge. Lacks eyesight, sucks badly. Bitch, I just got fucking LASIK, motherfucker. Fuck you. Oh shit. I'd rather be Canelo. Walked away with one cut his eye. And Golovkin, he got beat with an ugly stick. Cool comment, man. Did you log into all 3 of your Gmails to thumb this shit up, you idiot? Um, you don't know how to judge a fight, and that's okay, Michael A. Michael asshole. No matter how many times you rewind this fight, Canelo won. Get over it. Why would you say this? Like, what is the point of coming to the channel to watch this video just to say that? Again, somebody who didn't even watch the video, they just want to post their comment and for whatever reason, and then just dip out, you know. But we're talking about how to score a fight, and that's what you should be talking about. Um, Cleanly punches are great, but we have the benefit of watching them from multiple angles and in slow motion. Yeah, this is a great comment. Playing devil's advocate, maybe the judges took into consideration and blah blah blah. Canelo's moving forward, so if you walk through clean punches that negate the effectiveness in the mind of the judges, possibly that's true. On the other hand, Triple G's unwillingness to engage in the later stages of the round, which yes did happen 3 to 4 times in the last minute. They saw unwilling to come forward, evidence for the true. Canelo looked down at Triple G's feet. Moving forward, Canelo tap his gloves. Get his arms moving. Obviously saying, "Why aren't you fighting me? This is Mexican style." I don't remember that part, but probably was something said. Um, Canelo was doing it. Probably lost him the round and the fight. Of course, I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm just saying, see from the judges. This is a good point. We can cry foul, right? As judges, a lot of people would have given the fight to Golovkin, but it's interesting because it speaks to something else too. It speaks to something that we're tired of in the boxing community. Um, and one of the points, and maybe this is where the ambiguity is, that or one of the problems. I'm gonna cut it after this. That's funny. Um, I'm gonna cut it after this comment. There's just too many. There's a lot. But this is interesting because um, what he's saying, it has a lot of merit, right? People are tired of boxing corruption, you know, um, and people are tired of, the majority of the boxing fans are tired of it, and maybe we create a bias when we go into a fight, knowing that all the close rounds are going to go to Canelo, even if they might deserve to go to Canelo. You look at the fact that Triple G was moving back, he looked a little bit more tired. He doesn't have as good of like stand-up technique, so it makes it look like he's in more danger in the fight, than Canelo is, even though he's landing the bigger shots. And because we know the rounds are close, we expect Triple G to get some of them. But when he doesn't, we get upset, because maybe we're biased um, against the boxing judges, just because we've been jaded so many times. Maybe the fight was close enough that we could give it to Canelo. But because of the fact that we walk into it with biases, expecting one thing, And then when it happens, because we know that it's going to happen, we're upset. Um, kind of like when we expect Golovkin to move forward and it doesn't happen, and then people use that as evidence to say that he lost, or Canelo moved forward Mexican style, that's evidence that he won, right? And that creates bias as well. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about the video. Mr. Greenup, I'll do your comment. The value of jabs. Look at the landing a combination isn't what a jab is supposed to do. Create an opportunity to lead something. So, Mr. Greenup, thank you for your support, by the way, and you always have great comments. The jab is a punch. The jab is a punch. Um, you get credit for landing punches. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with what it's supposed to do. It doesn't have anything to do with um, uh, your preconceived notions. And again, that has a lot to do with how we score a fight. Our preconceived notion: Triple G goes forward, Canelo goes backwards. Because those are turned on their head, that means that they're not effective, right? In either way. Golovkin not effective because he went backwards. Canelo was more effective because he went forwards, and that's a way of creating biases that are inappropriate for scoring a boxing fight. Now, saying that because Triple G wasn't doing 1, 2, 3s all night meant that he wasn't being effective with his jab, and that's not fair either. Canelo wasn't effective with his jab in the same way. He would just flash his jab out there to get Golovkin out of position so that he could land a 2 or a 3. Um, does that mean that his jab wasn't effective? No, because it's used to set up other punches, right? But um, but you still have to be able to defend the jab. Who is it that Golovkin knocked down or knocked out with a jab? I don't remember. But um, I'm sorry, I meant to say, does that mean that Canelo's jab is more effective because he flashes it than Golovkin's? But the fact that you're landing the punches means that um, you're outlanding your opponent, right? Or that you're scoring, and that's what it's about: is scoring against your opponent, um, not just the colloquialism of why you throw a jab in the first place. I'm trying to think of who else in boxing has a great jab. Mayweather, right? Mayweather has a great jab, and he got credit for using his jab throughout his entire career. Um, and Triple G has a better jab than Mayweather. Oh God, I can see the dislikes coming from that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this format. It was a really, really long video, so anybody who stuck through it, I really appreciate it. Look at all these comments, though. There are just so many. Son of Judges Ward. um, yeah, okay. Stupid. Biased. What are you talking about? You're an idiot. This guy had a decent comment too. I'm not going to go over it, but I don't agree with the moving back part. Um, if you, it's really easy at the lower levels of boxing if your opponent is walking into your shots. If they have to be the one closing the distance on you because they put themselves out of position to move forward. It's the reason why counterpunchers are so effective in the first place against low-level fighters. Um, um, and it's understood that walking into your opponent's range is more dangerous than your opponent walking into yours, and that's the idea behind it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about the format. If you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, thanks guys.